Look, have you ever spent your entire weekend dragging a heavy, tangled hose all over your yard? You're constantly trying to guess if you've watered enough, only to still end up with those frustrating, crispy brown patches in your grass. It's literally the worst, especially when you're putting in so much effort.
But what if you could just take all that guesswork and physical labor completely out of the equation? Imagine waking up every single morning to a perfectly uniform, vibrant, lush green paradise. And the best part? You don't have to lift a finger. Well, that's the magic of an automated irrigation system. And today, we're going to show you exactly how it all comes together.
Welcome to This Explainer. Our mission today is to completely demystify the entire process of installing a lawn irrigation system. Whether you're thinking about hiring a pro and just want to understand the mechanics, or you're an ambitious DIYer ready to tackle the yard yourself, you're getting a full masterclass right here, right now.
Okay, let's dive into our agenda for today. We'll start with Section 1, Why Automate Your Irrigation. Then Section 2, Planning Your Perfect System. Section 3 covers essential components and tools. Section 4 is our step-by-step installation guide. And finally, Section 5 wraps up with testing, maintenance, and savings. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Why Automate Your Irrigation. We're talking about the benefits of a smart lawn.
If you're still on the fence about leaving those manual watering days behind, you've got to look at these benefits. A smart system is perfectly calibrated to use exactly the right amount of water, no more, no less. And because systems like drip lines deliver water directly down to the root zones of your plants, you're essentially starving the surrounding weeds of the surface water they need to grow. Plus, keeping standing water off the leaves, that actually prevents plant diseases. So you're getting a way healthier lawn, you're spending absolutely 0 hours watering it, and because of the massive efficiency, this entire setup practically pays for itself by drastically cutting down your monthly utility bills. It's a hugely budget-friendly upgrade in the long run.
Moving right along to Section 2, Planning Your Perfect System. This is all about mapping and mathematics.
A beautiful, maintenance-free lawn isn't actually born in the dirt, it is born on paper. You absolutely have to begin with a scale map of your property. A 1:100 scale, where 1 centimeter equals 1 meter, is pretty standard. Map out every single tree, every pathway, every zone. You can even use some great online software tools to help build this layout. But listen to me on step 2 because this is the golden rule. Before a single shovel hits the dirt, you absolutely must check with your local municipality to locate underground cables and pipes. Hitting a power line? Yeah, that will completely ruin your day. Finally, you need to measure your water pressure. Let's clarify that last point really quick. Static water pressure is the pressure measured with a gauge at your water source when absolutely no other water is running in your house. So, here's why this matters. Your static water pressure, along with your flow rate, dictates exactly how many sprinklers can run on a single zone at the exact same time. If you just guess this number, your brand new sprinklers are just going to dribble pathetically, and nobody wants that.
Let's keep the momentum going with Section 3, Essential Components and Tools. This is our arsenal.
Now that we have our blueprint and our math is totally locked in, it's time to gather the gear. Notice how every single tool here has a very specific job. Spray or deflector heads, those are perfect for tight, complex spaces, covering up to 5.8 meters. But if you have a massive open lawn, you're going to need rotors, which can throw water over 23 meters. Then you have MP rotators, which are incredible for water efficiency and sloped terrains, using these really cool multiple rotating microstreams. And for your delicate garden beds, drip hoses deliver water through direct root contact. Matching the right sprinkler to your yard's specific geometry is the ultimate secret to saving massive amounts of water.
Now, when you look at catalogs filled with electromagnetic valves, solenoids, and PE pipes, it can kind of feel like you're building a spaceship. But I want you to keep this quote in mind. It really is this simple. The controller is just the brain telling the system when to turn on, the pipes are the veins transporting the water, and the sprinklers, they're just the hands doing the physical work. Honestly, it's really just basic logic and plumbing. Aside from the irrigation parts themselves, you're going to need the right tools. You'll see standard items here like trenching shovels, pipe cutters, and Teflon tape, but I want you to check out that last bullet point, a PVC pipe and a jet spray nozzle. So if you need to run a pipe underneath a concrete pathway, you don't actually have to jackhammer the whole thing up. You can use a rigid PVC pipe attached to a high-pressure jet nozzle to literally bore a hole right through the dirt beneath the concrete using nothing but water pressure. It is an absolutely genius pro trick. Okay, here we go. Section 4, Step-by-Step Installation Guide. It's time to dig, lay, and connect. All right, the planning is done, the gear is bought, let's get our hands dirty. Before you even think about grabbing that trenching shovel, water your lawn heavily 2 days prior to digging. This softens up the soil and makes carving out your 15 to 30 centimeter deep U-shaped trenches significantly easier. Once the trenches are all dug, you'll lay down your main polyethylene lines and install the electromagnetic valves down in their underground boxes.
Actually, let me give you a quick tip. If you've ever tried to unroll thick plastic piping, you know it constantly wants to coil back up and fight you. The solution? Just leave your PE pipes out in the hot sun for a little bit before you lay them in the trench. The heat naturally softens the rigid plastic. It brilliantly illustrates how working smarter, not harder, is the absolute secret to DIY success.
As you start placing your sprinklers into the system, you absolutely must follow one vital rule: head-to-head spacing. So because a sprinkler deposits way more water close to its head and less at the far edge of its spray, you have to place the next sprinkler so its water spray perfectly overlaps the previous one. I'm telling you, without this head-to-head overlap, your beautiful new system is just going to leave you with incredibly frustrating dry patches.
Next up, you'll attach your sprinklers to the main lines. Notice step 1 mentions swing joints. By using these articulated joints instead of rigid pipes, you can really easily adjust the exact height of the sprinkler head so it sits perfectly flush with your soil line, which protects it from getting wrecked by your lawnmower. Connect your sprinkler bodies, run the low-voltage wiring from your valves back to the controller, and mount any rain sensors. But crucially, in step 2, notice what it says: leave the nozzles off.
That brings us to our final part, Section 5, Testing, Maintenance, and Savings. Let's talk about protecting your investment. Okay, so why did we leave those nozzles off during assembly? Because your absolute first step before burying anything is to flush the open pipes with water. When you cut pipes out there in the dirt, mud gets inside. If you put those precision nozzles on first, that mud is going to instantly and permanently clog your brand new sprinklers. So, flush the system first, then attach the nozzles, check all your open trenches for leaks, adjust your watering angles, which, by the way, can usually be dialed anywhere from a narrow 40 degrees to a full 360-degree circle, and finally, fill in the trenches and replace the sod.
Let's take a look at how this all builds a picture of long-term care across the year. The real beauty of the smart controller is its adaptability. In the summer, you might have it watered daily in the early morning to prevent evaporation, but by fall, you can use that controller to dial things back to just once a week. You aren't wasting any water when the weather cools down. And in winter, you absolutely must drain or blow out the pipes completely so freezing water doesn't crack your underground veins.
Speaking of winter, take a good look at this number, 40. While standard trenches are typically 15 to 30 centimeters deep, if you live in a colder climate where the ground freezes, 40 centimeters is the absolute essential trench depth for your main lines. Getting this depth right is incredibly critical to prevent catastrophic freezing and bursting over those harsh winter months.
We do need to pause for a quick but highly important disclaimer. The guidelines we've been discussing today are standard best practices, but you must always consult your local municipality regarding water usage regulations, drought restrictions, and property modifications before you begin digging. Local rules always supersede general guidelines. Well, you now have the complete blueprint, from calculating your static water pressure and mapping the yard with software, to choosing the perfect overlapping rotors, utilizing those handy swing joints, and programming a smart water-saving controller. Honestly, the hardest part is just deciding to start. So I'll leave you with this. What part of your dry, frustrating yard are you going to transform into a lush, automated oasis first? Thank you so much for watching this explainer, and happy building.